Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, April 10th. Well, it'll be a very summer-like day here in the Mid-Atlantic region with record warmth or near record warmth in many locations. The DC metropolitan region should reach the mid to upper 80s, perhaps the mid 80s in Philadelphia. The record high today at Philadelphia International Airport is 87 degrees. In the ballpark for this afternoon, New York City should be warm again today into the 70s this afternoon, but things will change dramatically by tomorrow in many mid-Atlantic locations and northeastern U.S. locations because of what is known as the dreaded backdoor cold front. This is a frontal system that slides southward along the New England coastline and can flip temperatures in a hurry in places like New York City or Philadelphia, perhaps knocking 15 to 20 degrees off temperatures in a short amount of time as winds change direction, coming off the cold, still cold ocean this time of the year, and temperatures again can drop from the 80s one day to the 50s the next day, and we'll kind of focus in on this weather phenomenon over the next several minutes here because it's an interesting feature and it's a tricky forecast. It's kind of an interesting and tricky forecast, especially with regard to temperatures in some of the big cities along the I-95 corridor. Well, first of all, let's take a look here at the Mid-Atlantic, the geography around this part of the country. The temperatures in the oceans this time of the year are still very cold. We're talking 40s. The ocean temperatures kind of reach their bottom during the latter part of the winter, perhaps during the month of March. Still cold this time of the year. Now, to get a warm-up this time of the year, April we're talking about, you need a nice southwesterly flow, and that's what we've had here in the Mid-Atlantic region over the last 24 to 48 hours or so. Again, today temperatures will jump up and well up into the 80s in DC and perhaps the mid 80s here in the Philadelphia region, maybe 70 or so up across the New York City region. But this dreaded backdoor cold front will slide down the coast. Why do we call it a backdoor cold front? Well, this kind of frontal system kind of drops south and west along the coast in this fashion. First across New England and then down across the New York City region and even as far south as Philadelphia and Washington in some cases. This is as opposed to the normal west to east type front that comes in from the Midwest and moves in this fashion. In fact, we'll have a conventional west to east type strong cold frontal system moving in tomorrow night and Friday. But over the next 12 to 24 hours, we'll be looking along the New England coast as this backdoor cold front looks like it'll slide down and change temperature dramatically in Boston first and New York City next, and then probably even in Philadelphia tomorrow. It's a tricky forecast. It looks like it probably will not affect temperatures across the DC region on Thursday, as like today they should go up into the 80s. But New York City should hold in the 50s tomorrow, Boston the 40s, Philadelphia somewhere in between those extremes, probably in the 60s. All of those areas from Philadelphia north and east should experience a northeast flow of air. And again, temperatures in the 40s over the ocean waters right now. And as soon as that wind shifts from the southwesterly direction to northeast, temperatures will drop in a hurry. Now, one of the signs for a forecaster to look for this potential backdoor cold front is if high pressure starts building into the northeast, because winds flow clockwise around high pressure areas, and if a high pressure builds into New England, it'll start setting up that northeast flow, and it's a dreaded backdoor cold front because, again, sometimes forecasts can bust badly here in the mid-Atlantic and northeastern part of the country with a forecast of 80 degrees plus, but suddenly you get that northeast wind shift and it's only in the 50s. The opposite can happen as well in the sense that you can expect a backdoor cold front, forecast highs only in the 50s and 60s. Next thing you know, the front pulls back to the north and east and temperatures are up in the 70s and 80s. Well, let's take a look at the latest nationwide conventional surface map here and kind of focus in again on this potential backdoor cold front that'll slide down the New England coast and change temperatures dramatically by tomorrow in Boston, New York, and probably Philadelphia as well. One of the first things the forecaster looks for is building high pressure into New England. Here is a strong, cold Canadian high right here this morning in south central Canada. Notice the isobars here kind of bulging towards New England, and indeed there is an expansion of this high pressure into New England. Winds flow clockwise around highs, so you can start to see northeast flow developing here. Once that happens, it sets off a chain of events that'll cool temperatures dramatically, first in Boston, then in New York City, and perhaps all the way down into Philadelphia. Again, in this case, probably not affecting the D.C. area. They'll probably avoid the ocean flow tomorrow and go back up into the 80s, but I expect the 50s in the New York City region. Let's now kind of close in on the Northeast. Here is a close-in shot of the northeastern part of the country with some surface observations. Notice here, northeast flow of air already setting up over the near the Massachusetts coastline. These wind barbs suggest the winds are already starting to shift here out of the northeast. Another red flag for the forecaster that this backdoor cold front could very well occur. And again, high pressure is building into the region from south central Canada. That'll intensify this northeast flow of air, and eventually winds will shift in the New York City region to out of the northeast, perhaps even as early as late today or tonight, and then across Philadelphia by tomorrow morning as that dreaded backdoor cold front slides down the New England coastline. Well, how can the forecaster use the conventional computer forecast model, such as the GFS model, to determine if the backdoor cold front will indeed occur here in the Mid-Atlantic region? Well, a couple things to look for. We talked about the surface high pressure. Also in the upper part of the atmosphere, 500 millibars. If there's an upper level low in southeastern Canada that pulls out into the North Atlantic, that too is a red flag. That basically allows for surface high pressure to build into New England. This is last night's Zero-Z GFS model run for this evening. So let's focus in on the northeastern part of the country. Here's that strong Canadian high. Notice the isobars here bulging towards New England. And again, this is starting to already develop a northeast flow of air. Winds flow clockwise around high pressure areas, and as that intensifies, it develops into the New England area, that northeast flow will intensify along the coastline, and a backdoor cold front will start to set in motion and slide down the New England coastline and then affect New York City and Philadelphia by tomorrow. Now, one other thing, there is a band of showers and thunderstorms out over the Great Lakes region this morning, and there very well could be some strong thunderstorm activity, especially from Philadelphia north and east, late today and tonight, and we'll monitor that over the next several hours here at the SIweather.com. Well, here's the forecast map for tomorrow morning. By this time, that northeast flow has set up here along the New England coast and all the way into the Mid-Atlantic coastline. I expect much cooler conditions tomorrow as compared to today in Boston and New York City, and even in Philadelphia, where we'll reach the mid to upper 80s this afternoon. We'll probably be confined to the 60s tomorrow, and an outside chance that we could even be cooler than that into the 50s in the Philadelphia region tomorrow afternoon. We'll have to monitor that over the next 12 to 24 hours. D.C. probably avoids that ocean flow and stays in the 80s tomorrow. Notice here a strong conventional type cold front, a west to east moving cold front that'll affect the region here in the Mid-Atlantic tomorrow night and especially the first half of Friday. Well, here's the 500 millibar forecast map for tomorrow morning from last night's Zero-Z GFS model run. We mentioned the surface high pressure as a red flag for the backdoor cold front. Here is the second red flag, the upper level low pressure area. This is again in the 500 millibar region, is pulling out to the north and east. This will leave the southeastern part of Canada, pull into the North Atlantic, and basically that kind of allows, you see kind of this confluence action here on the back side of this upper level low, will allow for surface high pressure to build into New England. Another red flag for this backdoor cold front situation that's developing for the next 24 hours or so. Here's a forecast map for tomorrow evening of a widespread area of heavy rain here associated with that conventional cold front that moves from the west to east. That will press towards the east coast and move some heavy rain and some strong thunderstorms into the Mid-Atlantic region tomorrow night, into at least the first half of Friday. Some of that rain will definitely fall heavy at times, and really any thunderstorm that develops in this whole pattern from late today through the midday or afternoon hours on Friday can be quite strong, with some brief heavy downpours for a while, and even some hail is a possibility. Well, here's the forecast map for Friday morning. That cold frontal system now is headed towards the East Coast. Again, some heavy rain is a possibility with that west to east moving cold front Thursday night into Friday morning. All of it should get out of here in time for the weekend. Saturday looks to be dry, partly sunny, a good stiff breeze, however, and temperatures will be much cooler than what we're experiencing today. Probably highs right around 60 degrees on Saturday and Sunday as well in much of the Mid-Atlantic region. So, a summer-like day today, but then the dreaded backdoor cold front changes temperatures dramatically in much of the northeastern part of the country by tomorrow. Much cooler tomorrow in New York City and Boston and probably in Philadelphia as well. D.C. probably hangs on for one more day on Thursday with very warm temperatures, but then that strong west to east moving cold front brings in some more heavy rain tomorrow night and early part of Friday, and any thunderstorm between late today and midday Friday can be strong. So stay tuned to the SIweather.com for updates later on today and tomorrow. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.